Hey everybody, this is Eric with Rescue Ready again. In this video, we're going to be going over the installation of Rescue Ready Retrofit. First, we're going to be going over the removal of the trim. If you are removing the trim, remember you do not have to move the trim to install Rescue Ready Retrofit. With this style window, it's definitely going to look better once the plastics arrive. First thing, we're going to take a razor knife and we're going to score the edges between the piece of trim you're removing and the trim above and the wall below. This will keep the paint from pulling away when you remove the trim. Next, we're going to take a small pry bar. This piece of trim has already been removed, so I'm just going to be simulating here, but the trick is to work it in behind the trim and pry up a little bit and start to work your way down the piece of trim. You also notice when I remove this piece of trim that it's already patched and painted. Frequently, you'll see no paint or holes in the drywall, which will be covered up in the future with the plastics. Here you can notice that I've marked the Jack and King stud on either side of the window. These are the structural members of your wall that run from the floor to the ceiling, and they're on either side of the window. These are the parts that we're interested in attaching the pad eyes to. As you can see, I'm using a stud finder. We're moving from right to left. You'll see it start to indicate the side of the stud and then come red as it hits the middle of the stud. We want to straddle the two studs with our pad eyes. You can also use a finish nail in this application to find the center of the studs. There's no need for you to make marks on the wall like I did here. You can just put points on the wall. Then you're going to repeat that process on the other side of the wall. Here we're just going to show the contents of the hardware package that you're going to receive with your retrofit ladder. Here is the T25 Torx bit that you're going to use to fit the screws that we've provided. They're number 10 by 3-inch screws with a pan head. So that T25 bit, you would take that and you'd put that into your drill driver. I'm using an impact driver. A drill is completely appropriate. Next, we're going to place our pad eye straddling that mark between the Jack and King stud. The effort is to put the screws in the middle of each stud. So once you have that pad eye located about 1 inch to 1.5 inches below your trim, you're going to take a pencil and mark those screw holes. Next, you're going to move to the other side and repeat that same process. About 1 inch to 1.5 inches below your trim, and you're going to straddle the two studs so that your screws go in the middle of each stud. The distance down from the piece of trim is not absolutely crucial that it's perfectly even on both sides. Here you have the option to pre-drill the holes for your screws. You can use an 1/8 inch drill bit. It's not necessary. Our screws do have a pilot tip on them and they do not require pre-drilling, but sometimes pre-drilling the hole makes the screw easier to drive and gives you a little cleaner hole. If you're using a drill as opposed to an impact driver, it makes driving a screw a lot easier having a pre-drilled hole. If the drill bit goes in really quickly and you have no resistance, it's likely that you have not hit the stud. Next, take one of the pad eyes and put it over those 4 holes, or the marks you had if you're not pre-drilling. Insert the screws into each hole and drive until they're seated firmly. Here we're going to go over the process of properly reeving the toothless cam that is on either side of your ladder. Once you run the end of the webbing around and through the pad eyes, once they're installed, you're going to take that in, run it under that bridge with the cam open all the way through, then you're going to come back through the big opening at the top of the handle. Then you're going to flip the handle back and then run it through the 2 brass colored cylinders in the middle, and you're going to pull it out through. This is where you're going to adjust your ladder for the width window. Once you have it adjusted, you're going to pull the handle back over and snap it in. You will hear an audible click. At this point, you can take the middle piece of webbing and give it a good tug to make sure that it's reeved properly. In the next 2 videos, I'm going to show you how it can be reeved improperly. The nice part about this toothless cam is that if it is reeved improperly, it will not hold even the weight of the ladder. I'll show you here. We didn't go back through again. It pulls right through. Next, we reeved it through the top portion, snapped it shut, and it pulls right through. Once you have both pad eyes attached to the wall on both sides, you're going to take your ladder out. You're going to flake it out, and you're going to make sure there's no twists. As you can see there, the lanyard lays flat. You can either set it on the inside edge of the stool and work with it for the initial setup, or you can open your window and set it on the edge of the window. Next, we're going to start on one side. Here we're starting on the right side. We're running up through the bottom of the pad eye. And then we're going to run it through the toothless cam, as we explained before, how to properly reeve that. This isn't the point where you're doing the final adjustment. What you're doing is you're just getting it through that cam to where it'll hold the ladder in place while you're making your final adjustments. Next, we're going to move to the other side. Here it's the left side. You're going to do the same thing. Make sure there's no twists in the webbing as you run it up through the bottom of the pad eye and back into the toothless cam. Again, this is not our final adjustment. We're just getting it in the roundabout right place, making sure that your ladder is as close to possible centered in the window at this point. You'll see I pulled tension on the strap coming out of the toothless cam, making sure that the webbing going around each pad eye is not twisted. At this point, you're going to make sure that your ladder is centered and that your handles are where you can access them based on your type of window. Then we're going to secure each side with 2 half hitches on either side. These are 2 half hitches that you pull up tight to the toothless cam. And then you take the extra webbing, go back through the pad eye, and you'll come back around and do an overhand knot around the entire bundle of webbing. If needed, I can add a couple of videos if it seems like people are having difficulty with this step. So you're left over with some excess webbing depending on the width of your window. You can either tuck this away or you can cut it and use a lighter or match to burn the end to prevent fraying. You're going to do the same exact thing on both sides. So you can see I checked the lanyard to make sure that it was centered on the window. Then I'm moving to my 2 half hitches. So you're just going around the webbing and back through. We're going to do it one more time. This makes it to where even if that cam came unlocked, the webbing would get jammed up in the cam with those half hitches. And we're going to go back through the pad eye with the excess webbing. Then again, around the entire bundle of webbing, we're going to do an overhand knot. And just like I said before, depending on the width of your window is going to determine how much webbing you have left over, and you can either tuck it away or you can cut it with a pair of scissors, and just be sure to burn the end with either a match or a lighter, being very careful, of course. We're almost there at this point. Here we're going to double check our ladder, making sure that it's centered on the window opening and that our handles are going to be easily accessible for climbing out of the window. Then we're going to give each side a good tug, just double check the structural attachments. Next, you're going to very carefully reach outside of the window and pull the ladder inside, making sure to flip it over so that it is oriented correctly. Here you'll see our red retention strap. This is purely to pull off before you're ready to throw the ladder out of the window. This is not to pick up the ladder with, only when you're ready to throw the ladder out of the window. At this point, you have a functioning rescue-ready retrofit ladder. We're looking forward to getting you the plastics to give you that aesthetically pleasing look. If you have any problems with your installation, please feel free to give us a call. You'll see my number up here in the left-hand side. With any questions, you can text me with pictures. Email would also be great. Just be sure to give me as much information as possible so that I'm able to assist you with the installation. Thank you so much, and we're looking forward to getting you the second shipment with the plastics.